Okay, so I wonder if you've seen the video. Gaming is dead, and we did not kill it. He sort of finishes the video saying, the art is dead. It's because of because of large companies aren't delivering unique experiences anymore. So what he does is he uses what competitors do to blame Microsoft. He uses what competitors are doing to then say, no, that's what Microsoft is doing. He's saying that we need reskinned, rehashed games. For some reason, instead of unique, innovative games that haven't been made before with bigger budgets because of bigger technical problems, technical feats. He's saying we need rehashed games, we don't need new games. We need old games, we don't need new games. He says things like inflammatory analysis points in terms of, in his hypothetical monologue, he brings up issues like the millionaires versus the billionaires. The developer doesn't want to be a billionaire, he wants to be a millionaire. He wants a house on a beach, and a car, and a nice car. He's saying there's a cultural clash between people that work in the industry and people that represent a managerial class of usually big corporate companies. He's saying, an example, Larian Studios make money to keep the studio going, to continue to make content, to continue just to continue. And that's the at its core, that's what art is about. That's what games are art. And that's what it's all about. Playing classics and developing things that haven't been done before. And yet he illustrates that Prey 2 should be made, and Dishonored 3 should be made, and Hi-Fi Rush 2 should be made. And yet he doesn't point towards what's lacking in his hypothetical monologue, in his endless rhetorics, and he doesn't clarify his position. What's lacking is, okay, make art, but isn't that what Starfield is? Making something that's never been made before in a genre that hasn't exactly been successfully achieved. He didn't talk about Star Citizen and the buggy nature of Star Citizen. He hasn't talked about No Man's Sky with no story-driven nature to it. He hasn't mentioned all this stuff about Starfield. He's just saying, well, we need classics, we need pieces of art. But then he says, well, how do you do that? Then he explains, well, we just rehash games. Like, we want Dishonored 3, we want Hi-Fi Rush 2, and they're the studios that Xbox closed down. See, he's directing attention away from Halo Infinite being a popular game, and the hype is real. He's taken attention away from Forza Motorsport. He's taken attention away from the success of Starfield. He's taking attention away from the release of Hellblade 2, because there's a thing called the Xbox tax. And the Xbox tax means the socials and the content creators are out there to make it an unleveled and unbearable playing field for Xbox. For your local grown ecosystem cannot be tolerated, because it's not doing all the wrong things. It's not like the competitor. It's doing all the right things, but we'll just say, be intellectually dishonest and say it's doing all the wrong things. It's not bringing out good art. It's not bringing out fresh games. Starfield is a fresh game. Halo was built from the ground up. It's a fresh game. It's not the same as Halo 5. Gears 6 arriving out is a fresh take on Gears. It's a fresh engine. It's updated, and it'll play differently because it's technically different. So he started saying things like, well, because of corporations, because of these billion-dollar corporations, or they have endless... Another thing, he may have not have said it, but it's been said before, or they have endless amount of money. No, they don't. No, they don't. They have budgets. It's not they think it's shareholders' money. It's not money. The managers that are professionals are spending shareholders' money. It's not even their money. It's not even the company's money. It's the shareholders' money. It's private money. They think, well, it's $1 trillion, it's $1 billion, it's $1 trillion company, and they're all billionaires and they won't make good art. No, they've made Hi-Fi Rush. They've made all these games. They just made good art. You can't have rehashes of the same game. And it's like eating the same breakfast every morning. We all know what I'm talking about here. So he doesn't really back up his argument. He posits that the bad guy is a rich, unlenient, blind to art, is unlenient and has no leniency towards creative teams. And then he sort of juxtaposes saying, well, why can't developers have enough money to live? They don't want to be billionaires, but they want to get rich. They want to be rich, but they don't want to be billionaires. So he's sort of engaged in this. He's trying to bring up these issues of class warfare, the have and the have-nots, and we just working class, and we just blue collar, and well, you're holding us back. Well, he doesn't really talk about Baldur's Gate. He brings up Baldur's Gate in Larian Studios as a sort of, to sort of basis his argument that Microsoft is bad, that we should pay them the Xbox tax. We should be somewhat pointed out as the goofballs of the industry. And he uses Larian Studios. Well, if you look at Baldur's Gate, it's a rehash, repeat, turn-based game. That's a role-playing game, turn-based. That's just a rehash, repeat, regurgitation. Game mechanic that's been done to death. And there's that many versions out there. It's not that it's not exactly. With animations and a bit of story, who wants cutscenes? Who wants animated cutscenes? You just you hit the button, get through it. An animation cutscene in Baldur's Gate 3 is not a game. You're not playing anything. You're sitting there watching stuff on the screen. So he doesn't really critique. He says, oh, this is great art. No, it's a rehash regurgitation. So then he doesn't mention about Starfield. He doesn't mention about Halo or Gear 6 or Forza Motorsport in the realism in these realistic driving simulators. He doesn't talk about Madden. He doesn't talk about sports games. He doesn't talk about driving games. He doesn't talk about first-person shooters, third-person shooters. He doesn't talk about story-driven games. He talks about, oh, we want these simulated games. We want another Prey. We want things by these companies, these studios that have been put on pause due to corporate reshuffles and rehiring. We need more sim games. We need another Prey. We need another Dishonored. Well, how many Dishonors have there been? What, you want another Prey? I mean, look, how about a new game? What's the new game? So he doesn't really address like this concept of a new game with new mechanics, with a synthesis of mechanics, of existing mechanics and new mechanics being synthesized, and bringing everything of a game that's ever been made before and put into a new game. He didn't really examine new games. Like, what is a new game? And so he's opened up this monologue, rhetorical. I don't think he believes what he's saying. He's not proving what he's saying, and he's taking pot shots that Microsoft, and I said it in the video before, because Microsoft delivered Starfield for 30 cents, $10 a month, 30 cents a day, 35 cents a day, that they're the bad guys. That they delivered Power World for 25, 35 cents a day, that they're the bad guys. He says games and art, the art of gaming is dead, whilst he's playing Power World behind him, which is from Game Pass, which is from Microsoft, which is from the guys that he's saying are the worst, most evil people on the planet Earth. He thinks Halo was bad. He thinks, I mean, Redfall wasn't that bad, but there's a lot of problems with it. But I mean, Microsoft brought out this crappy game that they didn't want to bring out in the first